voices bright, set your course for tales untold, entertainment pure and bold. Come aboard this journey, new stories fresh calling out to Positively Pat Sim Show, every tale a treasure trove. Tune in now and set your sails, laughs and chats and wondrous tales. We ride the waves of joy and cheer, every week we're standing here. Everyone keeps spirits high, morning sun in every eye. From epic quest to daily news, listen up, there's much to choose. Every word a gem we share, Saturday we conquer air. Positively Pat Sim Show, every tale a treasure trove. Tune in now and set your sails, laughs and chats and wondrous tales. We ride the waves of joy and cheer, every week we're standing here. Everyone keeps spirits high, morning sun in every eye. In every eye. Positively Pat Sim Show. Positively Pat Sim Show. Positively Pat Sim Show. Every tale a treasure trove. Tune in now and set your sails, laughs and chats and wondrous tales. We ride the waves of joy and cheer. Every week we're standing here. Everyone keeps spirits high. Morning sun in every eye. In every eye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Positively Pat Sims Show. I am your host, Positively Pat Sims, and we have a fun show for you today. We're going to be going over all of the WrestleManias beginning today, and it's going to be a multi-part series of shows because I realized very quickly that there's no way that you could get myself onto a show with 41 WrestleManias in the bag and get through all of them in one show. There's just no way. So this is probably at minimum going to be a 3-part series that we're going to be doing in our build to WrestleMania 42. Now, before we get started, first of all, I want to give a big shout out and a thank you to, in the live chat, Chris DiCarlo, also our guest today, Benny the Jet Scala, for inviting me on and having me a guest this past Thursday on the Twisted Turnbuckle podcast with some amazing guests. And I felt like a young man again. It was fun. And I really like. You want to see me not know what to say, you just watch that show. I had moments where I was like, nope, I'm good. I'm just listening. And then others where I really, because it's a very old school wrestling show, which is great. It's fantastic. Here we focus a bit more on kind of everything from the WrestleMania era on. There, it's kind of the opposite. It's everything kind of WrestleMania era before. And it's a lot of fun. It's a great show. So catch it out. Make sure you check it out right here on YouTube. And Benny, real quick, where else can they catch that podcast? Where can they go to see that or hear that?
Actually, that's pretty much it. You have to catch it on YouTube. Normally, I simulcast it on Fridays on Want Radio, but there was something going on yesterday.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there you go. Right here on YouTube. So that makes it easy. And I want to say hello and a good morning to all of our listeners on WANT, where the Positively Pat Sims started almost 3 years ago, June of 2023. So I'm super excited. And before we jump into introducing everybody and saying hello, I want to give a big shout out, my good buddy Doc Haywood. I got some awesome news and a special announcement today of my own, but I purchased this week. It arrived yesterday just in time for me to show it off on the show. Our own Doc Haywood wrote and created a coloring book right here. All right, Heroes of Virtue,
Wow.
a Catholic coloring book of saints. It's very, very cool, guys. I mean, check this out. I mean, just some really cool stuff that you know.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so check this out. If this is something for you, make sure you check it out on Amazon. Just order it through Amazon. I got it very, very quickly, and we will, of course, mention this as well. So your own boy, Positively Pat Sims, guys, is now officially published on Amazon as well. So you can check out my new book, my very first book, Vengeance, which is available now on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover. Make sure you get it over to Amazon. Check it out. You'll get, if you order it today, you'll get it before I will. That's what's going to happen. All right, guys, let's get into it. This is the greatest pro wrestling Saturday morning show on the planet. So let's not waste any more time. First, let me introduce you to my co-host, my son, the resident WWE expert, who last time he was on the show spent the majority of it working on his Castle Grayskull instead of participating.
I was participating.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the one and only Seth Sims.
And
I was participating. I was just building Legos when I was trying not to look like I was falling asleep.
Is it just me, or do you look like uber bright this morning?
That's probably just you.
Okay. Yeah, it looks,
I feel normal.
it looks like everything, not you. I mean, like everything looks like washed out to me. But we'll see. All right. And next up, let's say good morning once again to the one and only, the fellow WANT host, podcast host, music master. Let's welcome Benny the Jet Scala. Good morning, sir.
you know, I pride myself on my own originality, but I'm going to say it's a great time to be alive on a Saturday morning on the Positively Pat Sim Show.
Darn right it is. Darn right. And look who that is, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, back on the program, our good buddy Chris Hall. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning.
Are you ready for this?
Oh, I'm very ready. It
Because
is a great Saturday morning.
I do know that Chris's main knowledge of professional wrestling comes after a certain point. And we're starting this morning with WrestleMania 1 and moving our way forward. So
Oh no.
you might
you
have
saying-
to, you might have to dig deep here,
Are
or
you saying-
secretly get on your phone and start looking up stuff.
Are you saying I know more than him right now?
You might, because Seth
You
is our
might.
information man. So in front of Seth, for those of you that don't know, in front of Seth is my MacBook so that he can look up information, and then he's watching the show with my iPad. So he's got all this stuff in front of him that you guys can't see. But all right, so WrestleMania. There have been some highs of highs for WrestleMania, and there have been some rough WrestleManias, and I am very happy to have been around for all of them thus far. And WrestleMania 1, the one that kicked off everything, was apparently You know, WWE, since they basically owned everybody for a while until TNA and AEW and stuff like that. But WWE likes to paint this picture that everything was on the line for the very first WrestleMania, and perhaps it was. All right, but to say that like WrestleMania was the first of its kind, I think that's a little disingenuous. Betty, I want because you're our kind of more of like our scholar here, going backwards, like I heard in the Twisted podcast or Twisted Turnbuckle podcast, but there were like mega events like this, just not maybe with the celebrity stuff, and there were some differences, but there was risks like this taken before WrestleMania, weren't there?
Oh yeah, I mean, go back to 1976 Showdown at Shea,
Yeah,
where Vince Sr. had bankrolled pretty much everything on Ali and Inoki with on closed circuit, and that wasn't getting the buys that he had anticipated.
right.
And so, what did he have to do? He had to drag Bruno Sammartino, who literally had broken his neck 2 months before that, and it was a very severe fracture to the point where, like, upon his injury, they didn't even know if he was going to be able to walk again.
Right.
And the doctor actually yelled at Vince Sr. on the phone. He's like, "Do you realize this man is in serious condition?" And he said, "Don't ever call here again." And then the next day, McMahon called and said, "Who was that clown?" Like, that's just my neurosurgeon, whatever it was. But thankfully, Bruno came out of his sick bed, faced Stan Hansen in a very rushed cage match, and supposedly that saved the promotion.
Could you imagine if something like that happened today? I mean, it can't. But man, if you even attempted something like that, I mean, there's just no way. But yeah, and Starrcade, like WrestleMania kept calling itself the granddaddy of them all. Starrcade came first. Am I wrong? Because I do believe the very first Starrcade happened like before WrestleMania. Anybody want to fact check me?
Correct.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Seth's fact checking me. Yeah, I believe that's correct. I think Starrcade happened in '82. I'm not looking it up because I want to test my knowledge here.
I'm going to guess 83.
83. Oh, but it still would have come first, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. What do you got, Seth?
Starrcade came first by about a year and a half.
A year and a half.
Starrcade was 1983, late November. WrestleMania was 1985, very end of March.
Wait, WrestleMania was no, that can't be right.
March 31st,
First
1985.
WrestleMania was March 31st of 85.
Wow.
Yep.
Why do I feel like WrestleMania was earlier than that? But man, I would have been 4 years old for the first WrestleMania. Wow. All right. Well, yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of the thing here is, but to be fair, right, the winner gets to rewrite history the way they see it. But WrestleMania has, without a doubt, far surpassed any other event that any wrestling promotion has ever put on. And that wasn't an overnight thing. Like, it was crazy. I wasn't even a thought in '85. Barry either chiming in there.
I don't think I was either.
No, Seth, you definitely weren't. No, not at all. But WrestleMania over the years has become an extravaganza and a must-see event for a lot of guys who are pro wrestling fans. But it's had, like I said, it's had a lot of rough moments. But one of the things I like to do in everything, in movies, television, try to find something about it to enjoy, right? There's movies out there that are some of the worst movies ever made, and I find something about them to enjoy while I'm watching. My wife and I have seen probably the worst horror movie of all time, which is Ginger Clown. I'm not making that up. It is a legit movie.
We love Ginger Clown.
Ginger Clown. It is so horrible, but
How dare you?
I
It's a
can have
great
fun
movie.
watching it because it's that bad. All right. We've also seen Popeye the Slayer Man,
Yeah.
Screamboat,
Yeah.
The Mean One. Yeah, I love watching those really crappy horror movies. They're so stupid. They're so bad. All right, let's get into. Not gonna lie, sounds awful. Yes, it is. It's absolutely awful. It is awful. But it does not compare to the masterpiece of horror that is Killer Clowns from Outer Space, ladies and gentlemen. So, all right, as my wife groans. All right, let's jump into this, guys. Let's start off with the very first 1985 WrestleMania 1 from the Mecca, from Madison Square Garden in New York. It was the very first WrestleMania. It was fresh off of the war to settle the score, which was Hogan versus Piper. Mr. T got involved, and thus we started the build to WrestleMania, giving us our main event, which was Mr. T and Hulk Hogan with Superfly Jimmy Snuka in their corner versus Paul Orndorff, Roddy Piper with Bob Orton in their corner. Yes, I believe still wearing the cast for the ever broken arm. So let's start. So Chris, how much do you know about WrestleMania 1? And what can you tell us about your memory that might tell you that I should probably check that out?
Well, I mean, there was a lot that went into WrestleMania 1 as far as I know.
Yeah.
The McMahons had put, they gambled quite a bit on whether or not it was going to be a success at all. So there was the celebrity and the spectacle and the show they tried to put on for that time is a pretty monumental show. Yeah, I know very little. I know, if I remember correctly, I watched it on the WWE network when they had everything accessible at that time. But I don't really recall much about it, and I don't know much about the wrestlers that performed because it was so before my time that I was able to basically call out Hogan and Roddy Piper, and
Right.
and that was just some of the select celebs that went on and had great careers after that. But yeah, I know it was a little bit before me to speak too much on it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Seth,
Yeah.
what is your research told you about? Now, one of the things we're trying to get to here too is is there any particular moment? Is there any particular match? Or anything that would tell you that this is worth checking out. So, Seth, what do you got?
Definitely the main event is what makes this worthy of checking out. But for a decent amount of the crowd, it's probably a mix of the main event and Muhammad Ali's appearance.
Right. Yeah, Muhammad Ali is the enforcer outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's. I mean, the main event sold the event. Sold it.
Yeah.
Piper and Hogan was hot. Mr. T at the time was hot because of the A-Team. And Pat Patterson's your referee, and you had Billy Martin, who is big in New York, as your ring announcer. You had Liberace. That was the interesting one. But Liberace is the guest timekeeper, and the bell he just rang this little bell. So, but yeah, it definitely was a spectacle, WrestleMania for that time, and it was the only WrestleMania for a long time that did not feature the title on the line. And I still believe to this day it's the only WrestleMania to close out, let's say night 2, because I know night 1 of WrestleMania 39 closed out with a tag match, but closed out the main event of the whole thing. This was the only WrestleMania to have the last match be a tag team match. In the chat here, before we get to Benny, was that when Vince was on commentary and his dad was behind the curtain? No, at this well, Vince was on commentary, but for WrestleMania, your commentary team was Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura, and besides for some mixing up of things for WrestleMania 2, they were your commentary team until WrestleMania 7. MTV was WWF after WrestleMania Savior. Grandmaster, one thing I'll say, and maybe Benny, you can comment on this. I feel like it was a pretty give and take relationship. I think WWE was on the rise and MTV was, but they were on the rise in two different categories. And so they kind of combined to kind of help each other out at that time. Because you got to remember, in 85, MTV was not the juggernaut that it would become. So, Benny, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that MTV was WWE's savior, or was it like I kind of, as I saw it at the time and even now, it was more of a combined effort?
Yeah, what's the word? Mutual symbiosis,
Right?
is what I would call it. But,
Yeah.
And somebody mentioned about Vince Senior. Vince Senior had passed away the year before.
Yes,
He had passed away
that's right.
in '84.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really funny because I kind of made some notes and I listed the celebrities. And I did it through WrestleMania 15, so I guess I'll be irrelevant if we get past that. But when you look at the names of the celebrities, it's so hard to believe that Liberace was still relevant
Right.
in 1985. But and speaking of the MTV and wrestling WWF connection, one of my favorite matches was Wendy Richter defeating Leilani Kai, and in Wendy Richter's corner was, of course, Cyndi Lauper.
Right. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, female star at the time.
Oh, and to me, the worst movie ever was Motel Hell. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No.
Check that one out and tell me if that's not the worst.
All right. I'll check it out. Who's in that one?
If you can find it, yeah.
All right. So I know Hotel Hell, which is a Gordon Ramsay show.
Yeah.
Now, this has Rory Calhoun is one of the actors, the only actor whose name I recognized.
All right. All right. So
it was Motel and it said hello, but of course the O in the hello was not working.
Oh,
so it was Motel.
Like the Batman Returns thing, when Catwoman destroys the O in hello. All right. Chris DiCarlo says the body slam match between Andre the Giant and Big John Studd. That was fun. And what made that fun was Bobby the Brain Heenan. And I believe there was like 10,000 on the line or something like that for that was supposed to be cash in this little WWF duffel bag, but it was a tiny little duffel bag. Either that or Andre's made it look tiny. But at the end of the match, so Andre slams Big John Studd, right? And Andre starts throwing the money out to the crowd, or 15,000. Thank you, Grandmaster. So Andre starts throwing the money out to the crowd, and in runs Bobby and snatches it away from him like a toddler. Like, it was hilarious to see little Bobby snatch this bag out of Andre's hand, and Andre turns around. Also, like, the whole thing looked like something out of preschool. Like, Andre looked like the big kid who was shocked that the little kid took his lunch or whatever and just turned around. Hey! It was funny. But it was a fun moment, stuff like that. The opening match. Anybody here? Benny, you'll probably be the only one. Benny, do you remember what the opening match of the very first WrestleMania match was?
Tito Santana versus the Executioner, who was actually Playboy Buddy Rose.
Bingo! Ding, ding, ding. Well done. Well done. And actually, a good opener. Tito Santana, a very reliable guy for Vince in WWE. Yep, Grandmaster chiming in right there. All right. So, WrestleMania 1, we got, obviously the main event is definitely worth checking out. Andre the Giant versus Big John Studd in the body slam match. So, but really, if you are a lover of pro wrestling like I am, if you are a big WWE fan, the thing I will say here is just to go back and rewatch the one that started it all, kind of makes it worth it, and just marvel at how far production has come. I was talking with Benny yesterday, and we had a lot of agree to disagree moments. But and that's cool. I love that. But one of the things I mentioned is you go back and you look at WWE at that time was probably just starting to get a little bit more into showing off the audience, showing off the crowd. One of the things that we talked about on the podcast, Benny's podcast, was that you didn't have to see the crowd, that the focus was on the wrestlers and on the ring. And one of the things that I said about today's product, when you go back, you look at that, and then you looked at today's, is there was a long time when I was growing up where you almost felt like you weren't allowed to talk about being a wrestling fan. You know, a lot of people may not get it. It wasn't as global for a while at the time that like it is now. But man, when they started showing those crowds and especially when they started playing the stadiums, and like they do now, it really helps me feel like I'm not alone in this. I am a part of a larger world and a larger group of people that all love and appreciate pro wrestling. Benny, you want to follow up on that one?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, again, when you go now, I think you really feel like you are part of a show.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, you felt like you were, there was a clear delineation. You were a fan. You were watching these guys wrestle.
Right. It was more of a sporting event production.
Correct.
Right. Which there's a lot to be said for that too. AEW tried that. The AEW tried to have a presentation more of a sporting event, and it just doesn't seem to get over with the audience in today's world. And so you've seen AEW take a much more sports entertainment style production over the years. And yes, we did discuss Muhammad Ali being there. Muhammad Ali, of course, huge at that time. I mean, still today, if Muhammad Ali were still here today, he would still be a huge deal. One of, if not the greatest of all time. All right, guys, let's jump into WrestleMania 2. WrestleMania 2 is unique, and one of the things that makes it kind of worth watching is what they decided to do with this one that you would never see them do again, and probably for good reason. But this event took place from 3 different places: LA, Chicago, and New York. I believe we started. I don't want to screw this up. Seth, you might want to help me out here. I believe we started in New York.
From the order I have, it looks like it starts in New York and then goes to
Then Chicago, then LA. Right. And Seth, does it show you there who headlined each one? Because I believe, don't just correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that the order was in New York. The main event was Piper and Mr. T in their boxing match. Am I right so far?
I don't know. I didn't get the headlines for each city.
Chicago would have been, and the only reason I know this is because it was filled with Chicago Bears players. You had the NFL versus WWF Battle Royal. And then in LA, and we had Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy in a steel cage match. And we had more celebrities. It's so crazy to think that they had the moxie to go from 3 separate locations in one night. And if you paid to go see it live, you basically sat in the arena and watched the show until it was your turn and then or after your turn happened. I mean, it's weird. Like, you paid 2/3 of the show, you paid to watch it on a screen. So, I mean, like I said, the moxie it takes to do that.
Yeah.
One of the
So
things
who'd you say started? Well, not started. Headlined each one.
I said that New York was headlined by Piper and Mr. T in their quote unquote boxing match.
Yeah.
And then the second one was the Battle Royal, NFL and WWF stars, and then Hogan versus Bundy in the steel cage.
Yeah.
I am the man. I'm not looking at nothing. That's all up here. Useless information that only matters to me. Grandmaster did mention for WrestleMania 1 that Hogan did go on the talk show circuit. They even went on Saturday Night Live, Hogan and Mr. T. And yes, Hogan put Richard Belzer in a front face lock, and he went unconscious, and Hogan just dropped him. He didn't set him down. He just let go, and Belzer just smashed into the floor, and ended up suing WWF and got a nice little payday out of it. But yeah, I do remember that. It was funny. And like, I think it's funny. Like I'd probably would have been so excited to be choked out by Hogan in 1985. I probably wouldn't have thought to sue. I'd have been like, yeah, I got choked out by Hulk Hogan. Chris DiCarlo. Chris, just so you know, I can see your handle, and so you don't have to tell me it's you. Just a heads up. I think in Mist
It's auto implemented on his computer. He's not allowed to start without it.
I think in Mist that the WWE should go back to Madison Square Garden where it all began for every 10th anniversary. Yeah, I remember like Chris Jericho said that at one point, that WWE should go back to Madison Square Garden every 10 years. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I really don't think they're going to do that again. WWE is, if you're going to stop and think about what is their goal, what's WWE's goal? Their goal is like any other business. It's to make money. And are they going to make money on a 2-night WrestleMania at Madison Square Garden? Or are they going to make more money at a massive stadium that they're probably not paying very much for, because now people are basically going here. We want you to come here because it brings us a bunch of revenue from all the people coming from all over the world. You know, next year is Saudi. They're going to Saudi, and someone on your show, Benny, had mentioned like we here in the States are all offended by that, but what about everyone across the world that's had to watch 41 WrestleManias here in the United States when WWE is trying to be a global product? Do I think there's other people that deserve to get a WrestleMania before Saudi? Yeah, no. I do. No. I think London deserves one. I think for sure London, Wembley,
Landon.
So all right, guys. Blue Patrick Sims here. Yeehaw! Thank you, Seth. Thank you. Chris, let's get you back into this here. And yes, I know WrestleMania was not at Madison Square Garden. It was in New York. It was at a different location. But it was still in New York. But yeah, I don't recall exactly which place it was from.
Nassau Coliseum.
Nassau. Funkin' Nassau. All right. Yeah. Little Blues Brothers 2000 there. Yep. All right. So, Chris, anything you can recall from WrestleMania 2 or anything I've said that would make you go, hey, I wouldn't mind watching that?
The only thing I honestly know about WrestleMania 2 is the Belzer incident. And that was just because I watched SVU growing up and knew about Belzer on SVU, and so studying his career and then seeing the tie-in to professional wrestling, I've caught that moment. I've seen that moment, but I haven't seen a single match from WrestleMania 2. I know less about it than I do 1.
WrestleMania 2 had what may be one of my least favorite first matches. Just to be fair here, it was Paul Orndorff, and I want to say Don Morocco. and it wasn't a very good match, and it ended in a count out. And I just remember the New York crowd just booing the ending of the match. Like, you have this big build to WrestleMania, and your opening match is a count out. Just ridiculous. Yes, Ray Charles singing at the beginning of the show. Fantastic. Which, by the way, speaking of singing, guys, we have super chats available. If you give us 10 super chats, which are as cheap as 99 cents, by the way, 10 of them, all right, $10. And Seth over there, we are going to make him sing the national anthem at the end of the show. That's right. Seth Sims.
I did not consent to this, and I was not informed of this prior to the show.
When you get on this show, it's there are no rules. I get to it's my way or the highway, brother. Ooh, yeah, dig it. All right. All right, Benny, what about for you? What for you stands out for WrestleMania 2 that makes it a must-watch event?
Well, for me, a little personal regret because I had moved. I lived, I think, about 11 miles from the Nassau Coliseum, which I always called the Garden Light. They were about 15 miles away from MSG, but you never got the great car. I mean, I'd go there every month back in the 70s, and it was never like, it was, a dumbed down garden card, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
But I had moved away 3 months earlier. Otherwise I would have went there. I thought it was very underwhelming. Even Hogan, Bundy, Piper T, didn't really like it. My highlight was seeing Ozzy in the corner of the British Bulldogs.
Right. Yes. Ozzy and the British Bulldogs. British Bulldogs, always a fun time. A great tag team. For me, Seth, how about you? What stands out to you for WrestleMania 2?
That stands out would probably be the 3 location things.
Yeah.
But supposedly there was almost nothing good to this WrestleMania.
I kind of disagree to that because
I don't know entirely, but that's what I'm hearing.
I'm going to say this. The Battle Royal with the NFL players and the WWF superstars was fun. The fridge, William the Refrigerator Perry. I mean, it's a replayed moment over and over when Big John Studd eliminates William Perry. Perry goes to shake his hand and then pulls him out of the ring, eliminating Big John Studd. I mean, it was Hogan before Hogan. I loved it. I thought it was great. So if there's one moment that I think would make WrestleMania 2 must see, it is the Battle Royal. The final elimination is a little weird with the way that Andre eliminates the Anvil, because it doesn't make any sense when you watch him give the big boot to Anvil and all of a sudden he goes in a completely different direction and goes over the top rope. But it's still fun, right? And Andre is like the king of battle royals, so it was really, really good. Savage versus the Animal was the best match on the show. At that time, Macho was still married, and Mach was on fire. That's a good call there, Grandmaster. I forgot about that. George the Animal Steel biting apart those turnbuckles. That was actually a much better match than I was expecting when I first went back and watched that one. Because I didn't watch any of these live. Once I became a solid pro wrestling fan, it was about going to my local VHS place and renting the Coliseum videos of the old WrestleManias. How many of you out there, raise your hands out there if you remember Coliseum video? Yeah, it was cool. All right, moving on to WrestleMania 3. Chris, I know you got to know something about this one. This was the biggest WrestleMania of all time for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about the indoor attendance record. You're talking about the shoot. Why am I spacing? I almost called it the Superdome, but it's not the Superdome. It was the Silver Dome.
Yeah.
The Pontiac Silver. I did the opposite of what Hogan did at 30. So it's the Silver Dome, and a lot of memorable matches. One that has to this day stood the test of time as one of the all-time greats, and one moment that has continued to stand the test of time, and it's even part of our opening video here. So, Chris, what about WrestleMania 3, from your recollection, makes you want to go back and watch it?
Oh man, two big moments, I'll say for sure. That any pro wrestling fan that needs to know anything about anything pro wrestling needs to really tune into WrestleMania 3. And I would say the most famous one that could be talked about is the moment that Hulk Hogan lifted Andre the Giant up over his head.
Right.
And just, jaws dropped around the world. But I would also argue that Macho Man Randy Savage in the Intercontinental Championship match, I would say, was a really pivotal moment that put the Intercontinental Championship on the match as a reputable belt to be worthy of a main event at WrestleMania with a really good match as much as the heavyweight title.
Right. Benny, I want to get your thoughts on this because now I know that Hogan, and I think it's very, very common knowledge that Hogan is not the first person to slam Andre, but I think that we tend to forget, again, what life was like in the 80s when WWE was treating the pro wrestling world like nothing else existed. And so they were touting quite a lot of things, and it's funny, I don't recall WWE ever saying that was the first time Andre had been slammed. I think that's the first, they've touted that as the first time Andre was pinned. But I will still say it's still a moment between two icons, and that moment took a Hogan that was already over and put him into the stratosphere. So, Benny, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah. To me, 3 definitely atoned for number 2.
Yeah.
First of all, I was living in Hagerstown, Maryland, working for Citicorp, and I still applaud myself for my entrepreneurial skills there, because what I did was it was $50 for the PPV,
right,
with my local cable company. So what I did was I invited about a dozen of my coworkers to my house, charged them $25.
Wow.
But besides the WrestleMania, they got all the crabs they could eat.
Oh.
Maryland was big, yeah, and all the beer they could drink.
Oh, those crabs.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Benny, how dare you?
Yeah.
Usually you have to pay for those.
Some even left with crabs. But I will tell you this, that what I remember the most about WrestleMania 3 was the build.
Right.
And specifically, you got to give all the credit in the world to Roddy Piper, for having the Piper's Pits, and for Bobby Heenan. So, Hogan gets a trophy, and then Andre gets a smaller trophy. And while Piper says, Andre, would you like to say a word to your fans? And I just have one thing I'd like to say. And the minute he said that, there comes Hogan, which I thought was kind of a dick move. And, he starts, giving Andre accolades. And, of course, Andre walks up. It's like, holy shit, what's going on? And then the next week, when Piper calls out Hogan, and then Jesse Ventura calls out Andre, and there comes Andre, and he was very well dressed. Looked like he had a couple of wine stains on his shirt. And who comes out with him but Bobby Heenan?
Right.
And the look especially on Hogan's face. But when Andre goes, I'm here for one reason, challenge you for a world championship match at the WrestleMania.
That was very good.
Thank you. Doc, hey, again, I'm stealing somebody's catchphrase, but Doc, what does it smells like food stamps?
Yeah.
The minute that Andre said that was the inverse of it smells like food stamps, because I think everyone that was there on Piper's Pit, they saw the dollar sign
Oh.
starting to, because it was money. I mean, they did it. And even, the other layer of that is, after Andre rips off Hogan's shirt and the cross, who helps him to his feet? That most hated heel in the WWF, which I think they had to turn him just to get some of the heat off of him and onto Andre.
Right.
So it was perfect. The celebrities, you had Alice Cooper, you had Aretha, you had Mr. Baseball, Bob Uecker.
Bob Uecker, my man. I love Bob.
And to me, Savage Steamboat is still like my favorite match ever. The 3 is still my favorite WrestleMania ever. They just did it right.
Yep. Seth, your thoughts?
3 is. I'm not seeing too much for this one.
I mean, except for what we've discussed.
Yeah,
obviously.
for what we've discussed. I mean, the Hogan body slam thing, that one's crazy. But there's not much I'm seeing after this one. Although supposedly it's one of the best WrestleManias so far.
Well, I mean, let's be fair. Like, there's going to be a lot of things. If you were to do to give the card out, you're going to get a lot of who. Just because, unless you grew up during that time, you might not know who Billy Jack Hayes is.
Yeah.
Right? You might not know how amazingly entertaining Hillbilly Jim and King Kong Bundy were in their match it was a mixed match where it was them and some little people. It was that match, I would say, makes WrestleMania 3 worth watching.
Yeah.
when Bundy gives the splash on one of the little guys, it was
Little Beaver.
Little Beaver, yeah, that was the best name. Little Beaver.
That's awesome.
But I loved Hillbilly Jim back in the day. Hillbilly Jim, and I actually really love him now. I can't stand his Hall of Fame speech because it was like a run-on sentence. But Hillbilly Jim was a highlight for the old Legends house on the original WWE network, which, again, I'll say this again, we did not know how good we had it with the WWE network. We were spoiled rotten.
Oh,
yeah.
It's great.
$10 for what we got, man. And now we have to have multiple things. I got to pay for ESPN. I got to pay for Netflix. And if you want to watch SmackDown and NXT, then you got to have cable, and well, that ain't happening. I'm not spending that money on cable. Yes, WWF Superstars was the show to watch back in the day. As was Saturday mornings was a great wrestling day. You had WCW Saturday Night, which actually I liked that show. But my favorite though was Mondays with Prime Time Wrestling with Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon. That show was my favorite WWE show forever. I can still go back and watch those shows. Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon is my favorite duo in professional wrestling for commentary and stuff of all time. Not Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, not Michael Cole and whoever the flavor of the month is. It's, for me, without a doubt, it was Bobby and Gorilla. You could tell those two had a bond that and really they fed off of each other like nobody's business. Jesse's very close, but Bobby takes it for me. And I want to know, Seth, do you have a choice? Like if I was to, what's your favorite commentary team? What would you say?
I don't know.
Because I'm not getting into commentator.
I
Because then
don't.
we'd have to open up the floodgates to.
I don't know their names.
Because Mid-South had a really good commentator. For those of you that don't know.
Yeah, I don't know their names, but there was like a few that I liked. Probably from like. I don't know. Probably the guys from maybe WrestleMania like 5.
Okay, so that would be Gorilla and Jesse.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris,
think
how
they were
about
pretty
you?
good.
What's your favorite broadcasting team or duo?
Oh, this'll date me, and this'll just showcase my age. But I mean, just plant me right in the era that I grew up in. But I've got to give it to King and Jr. There is no one that sold the McMahon and Austin drama, or DX and McMahon drama, or The Rock's one-liners, or anything else crazy that happened during the Attitude Era better than the King and JR. You have uh, JR's reaction to every crazy moment when Mankind got through off of the Hell in the Cell. You have King screaming every time McMahon's limos got destroyed or something like that. Just I thought the entertainment value of the two was no, and I didn't get the before them. So I didn't,
Right. You didn't know
since
how
then,
good we had it.
Right, exactly. There in a lot of areas we didn't know how good we had it at that point.
Yeah. I noticed nobody said Vince McMahon and Jerry Lawler. I actually liked Vince on commentary because Vince was like me on commentary. Vince didn't know probably 98% of the wrestling moves, and so he would just call them maneuvers. He would just be like, "Oh, what a maneuver!"
Yeah.
It was, and every pinfall was, "Oh, this is it." No. Like every time. It was so funny. Going back and listening to Vince is hilarious. But Chris, this might be a little controversial here, but here's the deal. I was never a big Jerry Lawler fan in terms of his commentary in WWE. I'm sorry, I just never was. I got a kick out of his like when he would do his, I got my sources type of thing. Right? Like, my sources tell me the Ultimate Warrior is 400 pounds and bald. I thought that's funny to me. Right? Or when he would switch his picks during the Royal Rumble. That was always funny to me. But he got he was a decent heel commentator, but when he started fawning over all the women, that really
I would agree with
made
that.
me like,
Yeah.
ugh. And then he comes back after leaving. He comes back and he becomes a babyface commentary. And I thought that the dynamic between JR and King when they're both trying to be baby faces just didn't work.
Yeah.
I liked it.
He's better heel.
Right. So for me, I love JR, but for me, if you're going to give me a duo, my favorite duo with JR was Paul Heyman. And
I don't know. I might have been too young as a kid, but heel Paul Heyman coming in from the Invasion storyline, I actually could not stand the sound of his voice after a while. Like I hated hearing Paul Heyman. So my memory of that is the polar opposite.
Yeah, I just loved how Paul would just piss Jim Ross off. He knew how to push those buttons. Benny, your favorite pro wrestling commentary team or duo? Obviously, we're not getting into single ones because that would be a full show.
To me, it's not even close. It's Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon. I mean, and they were best friends in real life. You know, they would take vacations together with their wives, and I mean, they were just magic. And I mean, the disgust that Monsoon would feign for Heenan. I mean, it never got old.
Right. Absolutely. Chris DiCarlo, Vince and Pat Patterson back in 1984, David Crockett and Bob Cootie. What? Caudle. Sorry. I didn't know that name. That would be that's Mid-Atlantic Championship in 1983. I do remember some Vince and Pat Patterson. Pat Patterson's a good listen because of his kind of broken English. It's a good listen there. And another guy you would never put on that list with anyone would be Bruno. Bruno, yeah, we don't talk. we don't talk about Bruno.
Bruno's my hero.
No.
You gotta be nice.
Bruno's great in the ring.
No, but I will politely, respectfully disagree because Bruno's backstage interview with Randy Savage after he attacked Ricky Steamboat with the timekeeper's bell.
That's true.
Come on, man. That is, and he called, "You piece of slime. You're happy about that?"
Right.
And he starts choking him out. That's great.
Right.
Otherwise, no. Bruno was not a good commentator. I'll agree with you. That was great.
Bruno was great at everything, says Grandmaster. Bruno is on my Mount Rushmore. All right, let's move on from WrestleMania 3. We jump into the Saturday night's main event featuring Hulk Hogan and Andre in the rematch that I believe is still the most watched pro wrestling event like ever. And this is the one where both Hebners make their appearance, and Hogan goes on his very famous and very hilarious rant about the plastic surgery and the $1 Million Man paying for all of this stuff. And Andre gets the belt and just gives it to Ted DiBiase. I mean, it was classic. It was just like, that was just one of those moments in time where you're like, yeah, that's one of those reasons why I'm a pro wrestling fan right there. Just the absurdity of it. But everyone played it like it was like the biggest conspiracy ever. And it was beautiful. And so the WWF title goes vacant. And we have, again, a first and only time we have had a WWF Championship tournament, which I would say, again, there's a reason why we haven't gone 3 locations for WrestleMania. There's another reason why we have not had another tournament at a WrestleMania. This was, and we could talk about both 4 and 5 kind of in that way, from Trump Plaza, where Trump's involvement with WWE would begin. We have 4 was, apart from Macho, there's not a whole lot about 4 that to me is overly memorable and for me to talk about and say, hey, I recommend it. Like, for me, the only thing I can say is, if you're a fan of Macho Man, this is your WrestleMania. Because he fights his way all the way to that championship victory. The only thing I would probably say is I would have preferred it to be a clean win. It just wasn't. You had Andre on the outside helping DiBiase. Elizabeth goes down. Obviously, we can't go have a main event without Hogan in it. So Hogan comes down, and without Hogan taking out DiBiase with the chair, DiBiase's our world champion. So I just wish the win had been clean. I thought Macho deserved a clean win to become champion. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you think about WrestleMania 4? What makes it worth watching? Do you agree about Macho, or were you happy with the finish? Seth, we'll start with you.
Apparently, everyone really likes Hulk Hogan helping out Ted
Really?
DiBiase. Yeah,
everything
that's
you're seeing is all positive there, huh?
Not all positive, but it's mixed, but a majority of them, like, it's a close but majority liked Hulk Hogan there.
I think I probably just because
It's
Andre was there.
It's like a 6-4 of people going for it.
It just felt to me like this was Vince saying that I want to put the belt on Macho, knowing Macho would drop it to Hogan later.
Yeah.
But I think that to me it felt like Macho and DiBiase wasn't strong enough to close out WrestleMania. We've got to have Andre and Hogan back out there. And the Hogan-Andre match earlier in the night at 4 was not good. It was a double disqualification. And so, yeah. So, Benny, let's go to you. What are your thoughts on 4? What makes it worth watching, and what are your thoughts on the closing match there and how Macho won the title?
To me, it's kind of a letdown after 3.
Yeah.
I was okay with Macho winning the title, but according to Ted DiBiase, the way it was supposed to go down was DiBiase was supposed to win the world title, and it was the reason why it was changed. I believe what he said was that because the Honky Tonk Man did not want a job to Randy Savage on Saturday night's main event and have the title switch hands. So what they did was they kept the IC title on Honky Tonk, and then they gave Randy the world instead of the IC, and that kind of left the $1 Million Man as the odd man out, which of course then he made up the $1 Million belt. So
right, which I liked.
it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. You had Donald Trump in as a celebrity, Gladys Knight, you had Bob Uecker again.
Oh,
yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't 3.
well, and 4, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe 4 is the one where Andre chokes Bob Uecker.
Yes.
Yeah, that is, and Bob Uecker's face is just priceless. I love Bob.
To me, this 4 is kind of the beginning of sports entertainment. Kind of like
right.
a little bit of you see that shift from wrestling to sports entertainment.
Right, because you watch 1, 2, and 3, and it still has kind of that old school production feel. Like we talked about on your podcast, everything's kind of highlighting just the ring. You wouldn't know that the Silver Dome was this packed, sold out place of 90,000 people, except for the wide shots, right? So, but here, it felt like it's something that was out of Vegas, which is Atlantic City, which is the East Coast equivalent to Vegas. But it was really weird though to see WrestleMania go from 90,000 to this much smaller Trump Plaza venue. But again, it was a different time. WrestleMania was not quite the juggernaut, and I think they probably knew with the way it was, when the way that they had it planned out was not going to be the big seller that 3 was. But let's get into, which is weird because I think the pay-per-view buy rates all went up. And I think 5 held the record for a very, very long time. The Mega Powers. So, Chris, let's get to you. What do you remember about 4? What would make it something that would make you go, I need to check that out?
Honestly, I knew nothing about 4 at all before today. So,
we're educating you, bro.
Right, but I would say that as awful as it does sound, like you mentioned, the reason why you don't hold a tournament in your WrestleMania and how bloated that match probably was, probably at least worth watching to see that many A-lister names and that many big people compete in a championship tournament like that is probably once in a lifetime event for sure. But I can't imagine what creative was going through at that time to put a Mania event match to be that bloated of a tournament like that and think that would work. So seems like creative was really in a rough spot at that time.
The only other tournament I can remember like that would have been the Deadly Games tournament for the 1998 Survivor Series. That was the one that it looked like Mankind was Vince's pick, and then we have the recreation of the Montreal Screwjob, and The Rock defeats Mankind and joins the corporation. And that one was a little bit easier for me to watch, but still, I don't think it's a great idea to have a tournament, a full tournament basically taking place on a pay-per-view. There's a reason why the King of the Rings now basically just have the last matches on the pay-per-view.
They're stretching out over the month.
Right. All right. WrestleMania 4 had a 6.5 buy rate. Mania 3 had a 8. Okay, so it went down. But I do know 5 had the record for Seth. You can look me up. You can fact check me on this, but I do believe that WrestleMania 5 for a very long time had the highest WrestleMania buy rate up until I think we get into the Attitude Era. Seth, just check me on that one and let me know. But let's jump into WrestleMania 5. We're going to keep moving it. Chris, I think what will be a good idea for you is Seth is our information guy. But I'll give you my thoughts on the WrestleManias. Benny will give his thoughts. Seth will give us whatever information he has, and then you can tell us if we've convinced you that we've given you anything worth watching. Because until we get to that point, I feel like right now it's I've never seen it.
Right.
You know?
No, you're not wrong. I do some of these older moments want to go back and check out the differences between in production value
Oh yeah.
and the hype and the build. It's so hard to get access, and they're making it harder now that it's not WWE Network anymore,
Right.
and they're stripping up all the streaming platforms everywhere, and who knows who's going to have their library when
Well,
they're settled. And
I think it's Netflix. I think
well,
everything's
Netflix has their biggest portion of it right now, but I think even Netflix's library is truncated from what it used to be. So
right, because it's gone from Peacock from what I believe.
yeah,
Right. And
yeah.
I think what WWE's doing for the most part is it's just kind of splitting it between Netflix and YouTube.
Yeah.
And I think WWE, which I really disagree with, I don't think they see
Mhm.
nearly as much value in their older content for whatever reason, even though they keep going back to it all the time. Right?
Right.
2K26 is a great example. WWE 2K26, its whole selling point is the Monday Night Wars
Mhm.
and the Attitude Era. So if you're still going back to that well, why not make sure that that content is available for everybody to see? You'd think that
Not
would
just
be a good decision.
Not just the Monday Night Wars and the Attitude Era, but it's, the most comprehensive roster ever. So
Right.
it's supposed to have all these 80s legends as well. And so you're going to have this. I mean, it's basically this game that says, okay, WWE Universe, you pick and play your roster from any era. And so if you're supposed to be knowledgeable about those eras, then where's all this content that we're supposed to be able to watch? And so, yeah,
Right.
them pulling the network was a weird move for them.
Yeah. Well, they weren't making any at the time. Let's be fair. Most streaming services weren't making a penny.
Yeah.
They were all in debt. Disney wasn't making money. Netflix, Netflix is always in debt. Most of these streaming services don't make a lot of money. They bring in people, and it helps them sell other things, right? Disney Plus is a tool for Disney to help them get people into their theme parks, help people buy merchandise, to help people go to the theater to see some of their theatrical releases and not the straight, Disney Plus is like the straight to DVD thing, right? But they have their Marvel TV shows, which they hope would get you to go see the movies when they come out, but that hasn't really been that effective right now.
Those can stay away from me. Thank you.
I like the first couple. I like Loki and I liked WandaVision. But most of the stuff, like, I still love, one of my favorite fake news bits I ever did was Marvel. Let's see if I can remember. It was Marvel has introduced their slate for 2024. It includes a bunch of movies, and I had exact numbers of a bunch of movies, a bunch of TV shows, a bunch of comic book spinoffs. And if you don't keep up with everything, you won't know what's happening. But on the plus side, at least there's no sign of a second season of She-Hulk.
Yeah.
It was this whole long thing, and it was just to lead up to a She-Hulk joke.
Yeah.
So, all right. So WrestleMania 5. All right, Benny, I'm not going to say anything about 5 yet. I want to hear your thoughts on 5 and what, if anything, besides maybe the main event, makes WrestleMania 5 worth seeing.
Okay, so yeah, I'll use the Vince McMahon word, notwithstanding, which he used like
Yeah.
when he did his commentary. You're right, he did not elaborate, like he didn't say
No.
short arm scissors. But the two things he said were imagine the impact
Yep.
and notwithstanding.
Notwithstanding.
That was it. That was his whole repertoire there. But the celebrities, you had Trump, Run DMC, and Morton Downey Jr. So they're kind of circling the drain there as far as celebrities go.
Yeah.
But I very pleasant surprise was Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior.
Yes.
So, kudos to Rick Rude for actually carrying the Warrior through a good match.
Yep.
Warrior was not known for his work, but Rude did a great job, I thought. And another very pleasant surprise, not really, was the 31-second match between the Red Rooster and Bobby the Brain Heenan, because Heenan had previously rubbed a cock the wrong way.
Benny.
Well, rooster, that's what a rooster is.
I know. I had a flashback to the show with your
You
little,
got to do a
with your
monsoon.
T-shirt.
Will you stop?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Monsoon's famous. Will you stop? Yeah, he did that. He must have done that a dozen times every WrestleMania. Would you stop? And he always did that cadence. Would you stop? Oh man. Yeah, Warrior. Man, Warrior came along at the perfect time for me. So you got to remember, Warrior would headline next year's WrestleMania. This is 1989. I'm 8 years old. Warrior is the perfect guy at that time in the late 80s for my age. I loved Warrior. And going back and watching Warrior is not nearly as fun as what it was for me when I was watching him originally. But I will say this, with the right opponent, Warrior has legit like the best matches on the card for WrestleManias 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
Give me a better match on 7 than Macho Man versus Ultimate Warrior. I mean, it's mostly Macho, but I got to give Warrior some credit. He was in the ring. he had to perform in some way, shape, or form. And like you said, Rick Rude. Rick Rude is a tremendous in-ring talent and gave Warrior probably his first decent match in his career. And I think it's only topped by Macho and Hogan, mainly because Macho and Hogan, again, sold the event. And this was the mega powers colliding. This was a year-long story, and if not more, that was great long-term storytelling. And I still like the idea that people have that Hogan is actually the heel in this whole thing. That Macho was rightfully angry at Hogan for having lust in his eyes, brother. Right? I will say, if I'm going to add this to 5, right? If you're going to watch 5, I recommend skipping about 99% of Piper's Pit. It was painful, and I love Piper. I love Roddy Piper. But Brother Love, Bruce Pritchard, was insufferable. Morton Downey Jr. was insufferable. And when Piper showed up, the world, like everybody lost their minds. Piper showed up. This was Piper's first appearance since WrestleMania 3, which was supposed to be his last match. He comes back after filming They Live and everything, and people lost their minds. Piper's back. And
Piper.
You thought, okay, here we go. It did not get better. It just dragged on and on and on. The only thing that's good about it is what's in our opening video, which is the moment where Piper shoots off the fire extinguisher in Morton Downey Jr.'s face. Because for about 25 minutes, he's blowing smoke in his face, and Piper's going, "Stop it. I'm telling you to stop it." And Morton won't stop, so he shoots him with the fire extinguisher. Benny, am I wrong here? Like, was that not just...
Not at all. I mean, that was a great payoff, but even at that, it was so horrible.
It took up half the show.
Yeah, it was way too long.
Oh, my gosh. It was painful. Like, yeah, that is a, like, skip moment. And I've tried to rewatch it back multiple times. Just, I'm missing something here. There's
Maybe
something.
the first blowing of the cigarette and then the shooting of the fire extinguisher. And everything else between, just fast forward.
Yeah, it should have just been Piper coming out, no Bruce Pritchard, bring out Morton Downey, because Morton Downey at the time, very controversial TV show host and everything. Bring him out, have them squabble a little bit, shoot him with the fire extinguisher. Should have been a 5-minute thing tops. 5. The thing went for 3 years. This is why there's a 2-night WrestleMania. It's this moment right here. It felt like it anyway. All right, Seth, what do you got for WrestleMania 5?
5, I mean, the Trump stuff is already pretty funny. But the Hulk Hogan match is supposedly really good. I don't think I know a bad Hulk Hogan match, though. So, and then we also have the Mega Power storyline and the WWE. So I feel like overall, this one feels like a decent watch. Like, it's not the best watch, but it's pretty good.
You know, it's some underrated gems here. And Grandmaster brought up Owen Hart when he was the Blue Blazer versus Mr. Perfect. Not bad. I wouldn't go out and say it was so good, but definitely not a bad matchup. You can't go wrong with Mr. Perfect. Kurt Hennig, incredible. The Brain Busters involved in this one, and I think, and maybe a little controversial here, but a underrated matchup: Big Boss Man and Akeem versus the Rockers. I thought a fun match. Two big dudes versus the Rockers. This is Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty making their debut. I thought it was a really fun matchup. And the final blow at that time, Big Boss Man, the way he slammed Shawn Michaels, it looked so impactful. It was actually pretty good. All right, let's move on to the WrestleMania. The WrestleMania that made me a WWE fan, like, full on. All right?
No way.
It wasn't the one that made me a pro wrestling fan for life. All right? Because that would be a personal deal. That was something between myself and God that made me a pro wrestling fan for life. And we're not going to get into that on this show. But WrestleMania 6 is the first WrestleMania that I got to see from beginning to end in one sitting. Before that, it was always catching highlights on television. It was seeing things kind of in passing on primetime, on Superstars, those kind of things. This one was the first time my mom and I walked into the VHS store, and brand new right there was WrestleMania 6. Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior on the cover. There's no way I'm not renting that. My mom was house sitting for our pastor at the time. I grabbed it, went in. I don't know what she was doing, but I was in the room watching that for 3 hours.
That's
Demolition versus the Colossal Connection. Andre and Haku. Demolition, who's going into the WWE Hall of Fame. Rightfully so. They win the tag team titles. You've got Diamond Dallas Page makes his WrestleMania debut by driving his personal pink Cadillac with rhythm and blues, which I still to this day just don't get. Where honky tonk I get, but Greg the Hammer Valentine looked like he would have rather been anywhere else on the planet than faking playing guitar and singing. Like, no, just not gonna. No.
Hey, who said it was faking?
And I believe Sherry Martel was help me out, Benny. She was who did she play in that group?
She was they matched between it was a mixed match between Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire.
Well, yeah, no, I knew that one, but she was actually part of the rhythm and blues thing a couple of times. I want to say Peggy Sue, something like it. There was a name she had.
Yeah, I think it was Peggy Sue. I think you're right.
Yeah. So, but I don't know if she was there for 6 to do that, but I know she was part of that whole deal a couple of times. But I didn't know that till years later. But 6, I mean, just the opening match was the model Rick Martel, who became one of my favorite heel characters. And Coco Beware, great opening matchup. And it just from beginning to end, it never slowed down. It never dragged. It felt really good all the way through. Even Brutus Beefcake came through in his match against Mr. Perfect. You got the Genius there, part of all that. Bobby, of course, is perfectly being Bobby throughout the whole show. Andre turning back into babyface was a great moment, taking out Bobby. Yes, Dusty Rhodes and Sweet Sapphire versus Macho Man and Queen Sherry, Macho King and Queen Sherry in the mixed tag match. What made that? This is my favorite Jesse Ventura call. Jesse and Gorilla were always pretty good. This is like them at their peak because they argued the whole match. And it was always Gorilla standing up for Dusty and Sapphire and Jesse bashing Dusty and Sapphire. It was hilarious. But that was so super entertaining. Rick Rude versus Jimmy Snuka. And, of course, the main event, the Ultimate Challenge, Hulk Hogan getting more out of Warrior than even Rick Rude did. And they did less. That's to me where I think Hogan gets a bad rap a lot of times because was he the most talented in-ring technician? No. And number one, he didn't need to be. Number two, he actually was a lot better than we give him credit for. If you ever watch his stuff in Japan and stuff like that, Hogan can go. But Hogan was also smart enough to know he didn't have to go in the United States. He just had to cup his ear. He had to put on a show. And he was the biggest thing since sliced bread. And he probably went to Warrior and said, just do what I tell you to do, and we'll be fine. And they had what was a great back and forth, up and down matchup that, and I might be a little bit biased, but I'm being legit here. It was a really good match without having to go into a bunch of fancy holds and moves and off the top rope stuff. This was a grounded, you had selling, you had injuries, you had fake outs. I mean, I loved Gorilla covering for Hogan's knee problem. He probably just temporarily dislocated the patella.
The what?
His kneecap.
That sounds weird.
Yeah,
the patella.
But Gorilla always did. He always gave out all these technical terms and stuff like that. But six. If you're gonna ask me what makes this six worth watching, the whole darn thing. But I am definitely biased for that. Benny, what are the moments, matches that make six for you worth watching?
Like, I'm going to totally agree with you here. And from beginning to end, Martel's match, Brutus Beefcake's match, the Hart Foundation, the Barbarian. I mean, you name it, even the Dusty Rhodes match, Orient Express. I mean, up and down the card, spectacular match. But, I had a friend back in the day that when he, and I'm not saying that I ever did this, but when he smoked a Chiba, he would listen to On the Edge by Pink Floyd. And I asked him why, and he says, it really accentuates my buzz. Now, I'm a, older Italian guy, and I like my red wine. And when I get a little bit of a buzz, what I do is I go on YouTube and I listen to the Ultimate Warrior Crash the Plane promo. Because and I try to, and the more I drink, the more maybe I try to understand what he was trying to say, and I've never been able to do that.
Warriors promos are the best because they're just none of them make sense. None of them.
Never ever.
the Warrior promo that Benny's talking about actually happened before WrestleMania. The one during WrestleMania was just as weird, but in a different way. But yeah, and the way that he would talk with his back to the camera, he was always, he's moving around, and that's why I loved him and Macho together, because both of them together was just like absolute insanity. But Warrior had to vacate the IC title. Here's a little fun fact here. So here's what makes WrestleMania worth watching. A little behind the scenes thing here that I noticed a long time ago that never got acknowledged for a very long time. So if you watch the ending of the pay-per-view, Ultimate Warrior has the Intercontinental, or Ultimate Warrior celebrating. Earl Hebner walks into the ring holding both the WWE Championship and the Intercontinental title. to hand them to Warrior. Warrior takes the Intercontinental title and tells Hebner to take the WWE title back because Hogan is supposed to give Warrior the WWE title. And that's what happens. Hogan grabs the title with tears in his eyes. As Gorilla says, he hands Warrior the title. And then very famously, Hogan goes off and the camera keeps cutting between the two of them. Instead of focusing on Warrior's celebration, it keeps cutting to Hogan. And at one point, you see Hogan get all perturbed because the little motorized cart that they use, because this is a big stadium. And so Hogan's on this little cart that looks like a tiny ring. And the cart kind of jerks a little bit. And you see Hogan be like, what the hell? Just some little funny moments because I've seen 6. I think 6 is the second most watched pay-per-view in my lifetime. Number 1 that I've seen more times than any other by far is the 1990 Survivor Series. The debut of The Undertaker. I have watched that pay-per-view more than anything. All right, Chris, what, if anything, what have we said that's convinced you that WrestleMania 6 is worth seeing?
You're right. There's a whole card of great matches. I would say one that I would want to see for sure would be Rhodes and Savage. It would be a really exciting match to watch, but just two of the greats going at it, probably at their best.
Yep.
And then honestly, Jake the Snake Robertson, $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase was probably a fantastic match.
It was good, yeah.
And then you can't go wrong with Hogan and Warrior as the main event. I think they were starting to pick up. It seems like, from coming from the perspective of not knowing what was going on at all, they were starting to pick up a momentum of like, okay, this is tradition now. People are watching now. Let's start to stack the card and really build the drama towards every match, not just the main event.
Right. It did start to feel as we went along that that's where we were going. Instead of just like they were always kind of like super cards in a sense, because a lot of times they would have like a lot of jobbers coming in to work, even some of the big events. But these were all big names and even from mid card on up, and everybody had. It wasn't all just thrown together stuff. It seemed like everybody had a purpose. Everyone was telling a story, trying to get somewhere. Yeah, very, very good. Seth, what are your thoughts on 6?
6 is pretty interesting because it's one of the few moments you get a babyface versus babyface, especially as the main event.
Right, and at that time, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Right, and first WrestleMania outside of the United States.
Yeah, the Sky Dome.
In Sky Dome cool. in Toronto and out in Canada. So that was probably people probably went to the internet to complain before the internet existed. Once that was announced, how dare you take WrestleMania away from me here in the United States?
Yeah.
But all right, I want to get through at least the first 10 here. So let's get to WrestleMania 7, which took place right in our neck of the woods here, Seth and I, in Los Angeles. And it was originally supposed to take place at the LA Memorial Coliseum. Ends up going to the sports arena in LA. And depending on who you believe, either WrestleMania was moved because of a complete and total lack of ticket sales, or it was moved because of security reasons, because of the storyline that was being told with Sergeant Slaughter being the Iraqi turncoat. We do know for a fact, I can tell you for a fact, that Sergeant Slaughter was getting death threats at his home. They had to relocate his wife at one point. It was not a good idea. Okay, just let's hindsight's 2020 here. Wrestling always takes what's going on and uses it, and it's been that way forever. The Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, all these great heels went off of real life situations, real life problems. doing this to Sergeant Slaughter, who just come back from G.I. Joe, right? He comes back. They make him the Iraqi turncoat. The timing probably couldn't have been worse. Because when he first started doing this, we were not at war yet. And then when they started, all of a sudden now, boom, we're in it. We're in Operation Desert Storm. And, there were a lot of wrestling fans they understood the assignment. The assignment is get behind your American guys. Get behind Warrior at first, and then really get behind Hogan to, the I am a real American guy, and get him. And now originally, here's the funny part. Originally, from what I understand, it was supposed to be Hogan versus Tugboat, and Tugboat was supposed to be the guy that was going to turn, and that was going to be your big matchup. I'm very thankful that didn't happen. But as I love Tugboat. I love the Shockmaster. But I think it was just a matter of I liked the story at the time. I thought it was a really strong story if you're an American. And WWF at the time was still very much an American product. But I think the timing was just really, really bad. And I agree with Grandmaster. I think that both issues brought about the change in venue. From what I know, that they had sold enough to move to the sports arena and have a sellout at the sports arena. There were people that bought tickets who couldn't go to the sports arena because they actually sold more, who had to be refunded, stuff like that. So I know that did happen. My dad and I were looking at getting tickets to the Coliseum because you could get tickets in the upper levels as cheap as $5.
Wow.
Yeah, $5. It was a no-brainer. We were gonna go. At least that was what he said. And you can always take what my dad says with a grain of salt. My dad's like Hulk Hogan. You can't always trust what he says. But 7, in terms of must-see, what makes 7 must-see? To me, not Hogan and Slaughter, though it was a decent matchup, and Regis Philbin added nothing to it. But he's one of your celebrities, along with Alex Trebek and a girl I can't remember. Benny, you might be able to remember who the girl was.
Marla Maples?
Marla Maples, yeah. Still does nothing for me. I don't know who that is. I know Alex Trebek, though, because, Will Ferrell made him famous.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I'm lying, obviously. But 7 for me is Macho versus Warrior, the career-ending match. And it's not just the match. Again, the opening video, for me, the most memorable moment of all of that is the reuniting of Macho Man and Elizabeth. What sucks is when you know the truth. Okay? On screen, everyone's crying. It's an emotional moment. They show people crying in the arena. People are sobbing. It is an impactful moment. Those two played it perfectly, but the truth was their marriage was on a downward spiral at that point. It was already moving in the marriage that they had at SummerSlam was kind of a false deal. They were already on the outs. And I think they announced their split shortly, I believe, after WrestleMania 8. So it took time, but yeah, what happened on TV was not reality. But it doesn't take away from the fact that is an incredible, incredible moment. The opening matchup, the Rockers versus the Barbarian and Haku, a lot of fun. Again, when you put the Rockers in there against the opposites, it's really cool. Legion of Doom dominating Power and Glory in a squash matchup. The Hart Foundation versus the Nasty Boys. Very, very fun matchup and a shocking ending. Did not see the Nasty Boys walking away as the tag team champs. I did not at that time. 7 was actually, I think 7's an underrated WrestleMania, to be honest with you guys. 7 doesn't get enough love, in my opinion. Who else we got in there? We got we have got one of those it's so bad it's good matches. Benny, the the blindfold match. Jake the Snake Roberts versus the model Rick Martel.
Model.
This is the payoff to months and months of one of my favorite stories of that year. The
Right.
model.
You get to watch two guys wrestle with sacks on their head.
Right. And it's guys, I can't understate this. The storyline was beautiful. You've got Jake on Brother Love's show, and the model sprays him with, I love the name of his stuff, arrogance.
Arrogance.
Sprays him with the arrogance, blinds Jake in one eye. And Jake's now trying to kill Rick Martel for months. All Jake wants is to get to Rick Martel, from Survivor Series to the Royal Rumble. So this is the big payoff. This would have been, in today's world, a Hell in a Cell. This would have been a major blow-off. And just like Benny said, they put sacks on their heads. And it's the most tedious thing. And the only thing that makes it worth watching is Jake. For the most part, because Jake is a beautiful in-ring psychologist. The model's funny. The way the model sells stuff is funny. I grant him that. But Jake uses the crowd and actually gets the crowd into it. That's what makes that worth watching. I'm telling you guys, watch it. And you'll be marveled at the fact that this crowd gets into this match as much as it does. And it's because of Jake. When Jake starts doing this, he's pointing, waiting for the crowd to tell him where the model is. And usually he'll be like, he's so far away. By the time he gets there, the model will have moved. Right? But he's like that. And the crowd will go crazy. And then he'll go sneak over and he'll miss. It's horrible, but it's great all at the same time. And now that HD exists, right? You never saw this when it was first airing and when we had standard definition. Thanks to HD, we can now see that their sacks on their heads have little clear visors that they can see through. So they weren't blind at all, which, I mean, we all kind of knew they had to do something like that. But yeah, you can't hide that anymore. So, man, that whole match made me sore from smiling. Just remembering that match. All right, Benny, WrestleMania 7, tell me what makes this worth watching. Give me your thoughts.
I mean, as a fan there, you're getting 15 matches, which is pretty damn good.
That's
and most of them,
crazy.
Again, use the Vince, notwithstanding, the Jake Warrior match, or not Jake, Jake Model match. Some of the matches are pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Decent celebrities. I think you also had, Henry Winkler was there.
Yeah. Lou
Macaulay
Ferrigno.
Culkin, Lou Ferrigno. Yeah. Besides Trebek, Trump. Was Trump there? I have Trump, but I don't know if he was
I think he was there. I think he was. Yeah. Chuck Norris was there.
Chuck Norris.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was, it was a good up and down. In a third year in a row that Warrior got carried to a great match.
Yep. Oh, and before I forget, not a great match. All right. But again, a great story leading to the match. $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase versus Virgil. His former, well, I don't want to say what he really was, but his former bodyguard, Virgil, who shares the name with the real first name of Dusty Rhodes, by the way. So take that as you will. But anyway, it wasn't a great match. Virgil, not as good of a in-ring technician as the $1 Million Man, but Sherry added to that matchup. Roddy Piper added to that matchup. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. All right. Let's, Chris, what have we said here that may have convinced you that WrestleMania 7 is worth checking out?
To the point that Benny brought up, that there's a lot of matches. I'll talk about in future WrestleManias when we get to them. the impact that some of the tag team matches and especially tag team championship matches have had in WrestleMania over the years. And just looking over the card on this one looks like a pretty stacked one for cohesive tag team matches. Like, you have the Rockers in the opening match. You have the Hart Foundation and the Nasty Boys. You've got Demolition. You've got the Legion of Doom and Power of Glory.
Let's be fair. This was not the real Demolition. This was Smash and Crush. Yeah, Axe was gone by this point.
Fair. Just I mean, I'm just looking over the card and just seeing all these. I mean, because like it seemed like the tag teams of cards before were just two guys that they may have tried to slap together a story and say you're in a tag match together. But like this one seems to be like they brought in. I mean, it's almost as in terms of tag teams, it's like they brought in the Dudley Boys and the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian, and you have just these really cohesive teams that made up most of the show.
Yeah,
so,
I would say that
watching a lot of these teams in their prime.
I would say the late '80s and up to '90, tag team wrestling was pretty good in WWE, and WWE have never really been known as being a great place for tag teams, except for certain eras.
Yeah.
And yes, I do want to bring up Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson, not only did he sing before the event, but he also was a human merch stand. He was just covered from head to toe in merch. He even wore one of those old school toy belts around his waist, which kind of shows you how tiny Willie Nelson probably is, because those belts were made for kids. Like, there's no way I could wear one right now. I have to get one of these big bad boys here to wear a belt. But all right,
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
As let's pretend we're back in that day.
Yes, sir.
We're bookers. We're writers for the WWF. Would it have been a much better thing to do with Jake and the Model to the blow off show before WrestleMania? Martel comes out like on Brother Love and again starts mocking Snake, who's with a cane and glasses, and all of a sudden Jake takes off his glasses and lets everybody know that he's okay. And then now you have like two of the best workers in the business, and you could have changed the stipulation and had like a gazillion times better match.
Oh, without a doubt. Even no stipulation, just a normal payoff match.
Right, just a match with them, yes.
Would have been fine. But, I mean, for this one, I would have thought at least some kind of no disqualification match. Like something that would let these guys just go at it. And WWE's always been known as more of the illusion of violence, right? So, like, even now, like, if you have Extreme Rules, don't expect to see an ECW bloodbath in WWE for Extreme Rules. You watch the Elimination Chamber just took place, right? The Elimination Chamber is not as barbaric as it used to be. There is some padding around the ring now, whereas it used to just be a steel grate on there. The WWE takes care of their guys a little bit. Like I said, it's the illusion of violence. Jake and the Model, with Jake's ability to connect with the audience and the Model's ability to sell, I think they could have had a fantastic, like, no holds barred. Yeah, would have been amazing. And to put them in this blindfold match was such a disservice. Like I said, it's only entertaining when you realize that they turned. I don't want to say the real thing because then we wouldn't be PG anymore. But I'll just say turning lemons into lemonade, right? Jake and the Model, I got to give them credit. That blindfold match under almost anybody would have been an absolute flop and a failure. But like I said, Jake got the crowd invested in it. And when you get the crowd invested like that, as someone watching it on television, you almost can't help but feel the same way. So, Seth, what do you got for 7 before we quickly jump to 8? I want to get through 8, 9, and 10 really quickly before, and we're gonna go over. We're gonna. We can't help it. But let's get 10 out here, and this will probably end up then being a 4-part series leading up to WrestleMania. So here we go.
Yeah. I mean, before people knew it, Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter was the best one. But after that, after the fact, Undertaker's appearance became one of the more notable parts of that.
Right. It's definitely one of those where you've got to go back to see where the streak began.
Yeah.
And what's funny is for years, WWE itself forgot that was where the streak began. The first time the streak was mentioned was at WrestleMania 13. And Jim Ross mentioned it. And he mistakenly says that the streak began with The Undertaker versus Jake Roberts, which happened at WrestleMania 13, when it was, in fact, Undertaker defeating the original Phenom, the Superfly Jimmy Snuka.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I actually, that was actually in a WWE trivia book, and that was one of the things that I corrected and sent back to the publisher. No joke, not kidding. I actually did, because I'm like, this is stupid. How can you guys get your history wrong? It's your history.
Yeah.
So, all right, moving on to WrestleMania 8, one of Zach Reeb's favorite WrestleMania. Zach Reeb, of course, from PCW, which Limelight is happening today at noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern. But Zach Reeb has in his home a picture that Doc bought for PCW, and Zach took it home. And it is of Rowdy Roddy Piper and Bret the Hitman Hart. There are three things about 8 for me that stand out as making it a must-see event. It is not Shawn Michaels and Tito. That was actually the war of the headlocks. That match was painful for me. I thought those two could have really had a great match. I felt like something was wrong. Communication, something was off. But Undertaker versus Jake was a wonderful psychology match. It was Jake being Jake and Taker showing that he was this unstoppable now babyface character. And whenever he sat up and Bobby Heenan would react, it was just amazing. We had the tombstone on the outside of the ring. It was, and this is after Taker had won the title from Hogan at Survivor Series. So Taker had already been a WWE champion at this point. Now he's like second or third on the card, which was probably more so because of Jake. Jake kind of held up Vince a little bit for this one. But the other one is Macho Man Randy Savage making his return to the ring and facing off against Ric Flair for the WWE title. It was a great match. It was Ric Flair kind of back to being peak Ric Flair, getting his confidence back. But for me, the standout is Bret the Hitman Hart versus Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Absolutely.
Bret,
Easily.
you had the excellence of execution, and Rowdy was always kind of a brawler. But in this matchup, man, they not only were both of them very, very good in the ring, they told what for me was the best story of the night as well in terms of a match. Now, the Macho Man, Ric Flair, Elizabeth thing, that was a great story outside of it and everything. And it added to the match. But Piper and Flair, without a huge amount of buildup like Flair and Macho had, that match told an incredible story. And that match made me a full-on Bret the Hitman Hart fan. I was always kind of on the fence about Bret. Like, I liked him against Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam just prior. I liked him as a tag team with Jim the Anvil Neidhart, but I wasn't sold on him yet. And this match sold me on Bret the Hitman Hart. Benny, your thoughts on WrestleMania 8?
100% agree on everything you said.
Of course.
You know, I liked the storyline with Flair and Savage, and I have to believe because my understanding is Savage, regardless of his status with Liz, was always insanely jealous. So even though it's a work, I'm wondering. I have to think that some of Flair's stuff got under his skin.
Oh, for sure.
But, Undertaker, Jake, two masters of psychology, but. Again, with you, Piper and Bret, I think this was the match that kind of prove to everyone, or at least maybe Vince McMahon, that Bret was a main event player. He wasn't just a tag team guy.
Right.
That he could carry a major belt.
Yep.
And I mean, the fact that it was babyface versus babyface, and I think if I remember right, Bret got a little bit bloody.
Yep.
In the match,
Mhm.
and but a great match. I think it went like 13 minutes. And yeah, I think that was. I think if you look at a turning point in Bret Hart's career, I think this was it.
Oh, absolutely. And to answer Owen Carter, first of all, welcome to the show. Great to have Owen on here. He asked, "Do you think Piper and Bret saw an opportunity to do a Steamboat Savage match and steal the show?" I think after Steamboat Savage, I think there was a pretty decent sized group of people that every time out were like, okay, that's the standard. That's what we want. We want to go out and do what they did and steal the show. And knowing Bret and his mindset and so forth, yeah, I absolutely think that was their goal. Their goal was to go out there and show the world. I think the only match they probably thought was going to be a tough one to beat was Macho and Flair. I think they knew without a shadow of a doubt, there's no way we're not doing better than Hogan Sid. Because that was not a very good match at all. It did show Sid's dominance, I will say, but the problem was that Sid was already turned off to Vince in the WWE, that he would disappear shortly after and wouldn't come back for a little while. But he was Sid Justice and then became Psycho Sid. But yeah, for sure. But we did also in WrestleMania 8 have the return of the Ultimate Warrior after being fired after SummerSlam. He did make his return, a much smaller version of the Warrior. He laid off the roids for a while. And it started one of the most famous pro wrestling theories ever. And that is that there were multiple Ultimate Warriors.
That one's a weird one.
But it makes sense.
True.
Okay, only because now there were always the one Ultimate Warrior, okay? But it made sense when you look. When Warrior first came in, he was freaking massive and jacked to the gills. And then he just got smaller over time. And then when he comes back at WrestleMania 8, he's not just a little bit small. I mean, he's like half the size.
Yeah.
He's still much more muscular and jacked than any of us. But he's still just half the size. And then he gets a little bit bigger as he gets back on the juice. And does have a great match with Savage at SummerSlam. But, yeah, it started this whole rumor that the original Warrior died and that they were just bringing in new Warriors to replace him. And it to this day, there are still people that think that that's what actually happened.
I mean, technically, the original Warrior did die.
Technically, yes. Yes. The day after Monday Night Raw, yes, technically, Ultimate Warrior did pass away. Luger, oh, yeah. Yeah, the whole bodybuilding thing that WWE started, the IBF, and Lex Luger making his appearance, and Bobby being so excited to introduce him. Yeah. It was the segment's kind of pointless when you watch it. It really did nothing for the event. I would definitely not put it up there as a reason to watch it. Yeah, there was a rumor that Texas Tornado was playing another version of the Warrior, and that definitely was not true. That would have been very noticeable to me.
Yeah, that feels weird.
Texas Tornado had a very specific way of moving, and a lot of that came from the fact that he had a fake foot. Because he lost his foot from a motorcycle accident. And so, yeah, Texas Tornado would have been very noticeable to me had he been the Warrior. And at some point, the face paint does come off. You know, like during a match, Warrior's face paint would kind of come off. And you'd be like, oh, that's Kerry Von Erich.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah, the steroid thing was going on. It was Warrior and Davey Boy both had the same issue where they were both very open about what they were doing, and Vince was like, "Oh, like I gotta let you go," and Warrior's like, "Well, I just told you." Like Warrior tells Vince, "Yeah, I'm on, human growth hormone," and he's like, "Well, I'm under investigation. You're out." So yeah, not good timing there.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, WrestleMania 9. Oh wait, Chris, what did we say that convinced you that 8 was worth watching? If we did.
Realistically, honestly, the Intercontinental Championship match, and I'll go back to what I said before with just the legacy and the prestige of the IC title, is that if you're going to look at a standout match, Piper and Bret for the IC title, I mean, what a match, what a matchup. I'm sure I don't even know the storyline, but I can just tell by the ferocity of those two, the passion that those two had. That match had to have been crazy.
Oh, it's off the chart. I highly recommend, if you've never watched 8, at least go back and watch Piper versus Bret Hart. All right.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 9 from Las Vegas at Caesars Palace, a completely original set. And the last time I saw WWE create a completely original set was recently at the Royal Rumble, and it looked horrible because it looked freaking empty. They had these lights up on the chairs that made it look like nobody was there. It was just the worst design.
Oh, that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
However, I really liked the way WrestleMania 9 looked. Not a great WrestleMania, overall, but I really liked the way it looked. And I do think it did give us one of my favorite WWE event documentaries that you can see, which is all about WrestleMania 9 and everything. Really, really good. I don't know if it's on Netflix or not. I know it was on Peacock, but if it's there, if you can find it, it's definitely worth checking out. It's really, really good. But WrestleMania 9 had a Roman theme. People were wearing freaking togas. Jim Ross, this was his first commentary assignment. So Gorilla Monsoon, for the first time, was now a backstage guy. He was no longer on the mic. Bobby Heenan's still there. And then we added in a third man in the Macho Man, Randy Savage, who was starting to do more commentary work here. Our main event was Bret the Hitman Hart versus Yokozuna. And the very controversial moment where Yoko defeats Bret, becomes the WWF champion, and who appears but the real American himself, Hulk Hogan, who Bret tells, "Go on, go get him. Go get Yokozuna," as Mr. Fuji makes a split-second challenge to Hogan. Bret waves him in. Hogan goes in, and like 30 seconds later, Hulk Hogan is your new WWF champion. Again, this is one of those things where hindsight is 2020. Not a good idea. But I'm going to say this, and I need you guys to remember. Hogan still over. Hogan still a draw. The live audience ate that crap up. The people in that makeshift arena went crazy. Does it mean it was the right decision? No. But to say that it was a fart in an elevator? No, it really wasn't. It was a moment, and it's one that we're still talking about to this day, good or bad. And like I said, the crowd went crazy. I would have been now, in my early, 11, 12, something like that. I was like, whoa, Hogan won the title back. And when it got into more of the new generation era with 10, 11, 12, that was actually when I fell out of watching a lot of pro wrestling. I thought it got too crazy, too ridiculous with the characters and storylines. But so 9 was the last WrestleMania I actually watched for years. The next time I would actually watch WrestleMania was WrestleMania 15. Not even the one where Stone Cold era begins at WrestleMania 14. It was 15. It took me a long time to watch another WrestleMania. But this one, like I said, and Benny will probably disagree with me. I hope somebody disagrees with me that the Hogan moment, wasn't good, but I see there's a justification for it. I think what made it bad was the follow-up and the follow-through. To me, any moment can be good. You can make any moment good by the follow-through. John Cena's heel turn could have been great and could have been remembered to this day as an epic moment. It was a moment definitely in time, but it's the follow-through that made it bad. Hulk Hogan turning and joining the NWO is a moment in time. What makes it epic is that it worked. And it was a long-term story that was fantastic and made WCW the biggest pro wrestling company in the world. But WrestleMania 9 also featured the disaster that was The Undertaker versus the Giant Gonzalez. Like this 8-foot freaking monster Giant Gonzalez that just couldn't do anything. But the moment Taker walks out, after they use chloroform to knock him out, and he gets back up and comes back out and takes down the Giant. It was a cool moment for a Taker fan. And in his entrance with the Vulture, chef's kiss. All right. You have Shawn Michaels versus Tatanka. Or as Bobby Heenan would say, Tatanka. But you had Bob Backlund making his return versus Razor Ramon. You had Doink versus Crush. These are all real matches for WrestleMania, by the way.
These sound so fake.
That featured multiple Doinks.
Multiple Doinks?
Yes, the famous Doink mirror moment. Doink the Clown, which I actually love the original character of Doink the Clown.
This sounds like they just recorded a kid playing with their action figures, and the kid had two of the same guy.
It was probably Tony Khan.
They had to make up an excuse.
The Head Shrinkers versus the Steiner Brothers. Steiner Brothers, a part of WWE during this time. That was a fun match. That was a fun match for sure. What am I missing here, Doc or Seth? Anybody want to chime in? What matches am I missing from this one? Oh, Hulk Hogan and Brutus Beefcake versus Money Inc.
Yeah, and there's also Luger and Mr. Perfect.
Oh yeah, that didn't go so well. Well, Perfect was still suffering from some back issues, and Luger was never the strongest guy in the ring. It was a kind of a plotting match. Luger was doing his narcissist character, so it was like, and then the wind made the sparkler thing look a little weird. But anyway, Steiner math is taught at my son's school.
What?
Nice. Steiner math. It's a whole thing. Benny, tell me about your thoughts on WrestleMania 9.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, regarding Hogan winning the belt over Yokozuna, I mean, the fact that we're still talking about it 43 years later, what do you say? I mean, was I a fan of it? No, but I was a huge Bret fan. So I didn't like Bret, seeing Bret lose only to have another babyface have the title 5 minutes later.
Right.
It just didn't do it for me. Taker Gonzalez was god awful.
Oh,
I mean, geez.
Poor Taker.
That probably of his streak was the worst of his matches. But the rest of the card wasn't bad. I think you just, again, we slowly see, WWF morphing more out of sports and, or less sports and more entertainment.
Yeah. Bob Backlund stood out as being a why is he here type of deal. But it did give us, we eventually got that crazy Bob Backlund that I love. Like,
Great character.
oh,
Mr. Backlund.
and here's the thing, like Ric Flair, Vince tells Rick, like, we're going in a different direction. So Rick goes back to WCW. I almost feel like if Rick had stayed, Rick would have probably gotten more opportunities because he might have been in the Bob Backlund position where he's the one feuding against Bret Hart. But I mean, I guess it kind of worked out for Flair, even though his last few years at WCW were kind of miserable for him. But I feel like Bob Backlund was a great foil for Bret Hart, but I feel like Rick might have been the one put in that position instead of Bob had he stuck around. But yeah, no. In the chat here, we also have another several theories that popped up around Hulk Hogan's black eye, and his eye was like swollen almost shut, and supposedly it was from a jet skiing incident, something like that. Bruce Pritchard claims that that's 100% what it was. There's a lot of rumors that it happened in the gym. There was rumors that it was Macho Man that punched him in the face. There's all kinds of things. To me, for that one, because there's not a lot of people that were there to see it, that's one of those where it's like, whichever one you think is the most entertaining to you, run with it. I don't care.
Let's go with it.
Yeah. If you think it's Macho punching him in the face, why not? That sounds good to me. All right. Bam Bam versus Kamala was canceled before the show. WWF officials claim that the injury was the result of a jet ski accident. Bret Hart said that he punched Hogan in the eye. Yeah, no, Bret did not punch Hogan in the eye. No, he did not. Bret didn't really punch anybody like that until Vince. But I'm sorry, it was not Bret. Bret did not punch Hogan. Steiners versus Head Shrinkers. Yeah, that was very, very good. One theory is that Savage punched Hogan because he believed that his ex-wife Elizabeth had an affair with Hogan. Yeah. There's so many freaking theories about that, but the truth is it's probably so just tame that it's almost more fun to think about everything else.
Yeah.
Like, it probably was the jet ski thing. He probably
the jet ski sounds so wrong because they said it was supposed to be a really fast jet ski.
Well, yeah. I would hope it wasn't a slow one.
Well, supposedly it was like 70-mile-per-hour jet ski.
Oh, bring it on.
To the face is more than a black eye.
Hey, not if you're Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan would still be pretty hurt.
Take your vitamins, brother.
Yeah, you don't know. Hulk Hogan, when that jet ski was coming at his face, he popped a vitamin, he said his prayers, and it just glanced. It magically just went poo-poo.
It's a toy. It's a toy jet ski. It's a little toy jet ski.
Here, let me recreate it. So here's Hogan. And here's the jet ski. I'm using the bat.
That is not accurately sized.
No, it's no, that's about right. See, that's about how big Hogan is riding a jet ski, right there.
What is he,
wrong.
Andre the Giant?
That looks so wrong. Okay.
Oh my God.
So Hogan's riding the jet ski. Dun, da, 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 da. And, oh no! Hogan falls off. Jet ski comes around. Hogan bobs up in the water like this. Here comes the jet ski. And then Hogan goes, "What you gonna do, brother?" And then he turns his head as the jet ski just bounces right off his face. And
that's a whole different injury than a black eye.
The jet ski pulls an Incredible Hulk and just rides off into the sunset. While Hulk Hogan, the real Hulk Hogan, after he got hit, he drowned. And so the Hulk Hogan you saw at WrestleMania was a new guy.
Oh,
that's why he's so much thinner than
and
Hulk Hogan.
to make it seem like he was the real Hulk Hogan and there was an accident, they gave him a fake black eye.
Only on the Positively Pat Sims show can you get recreations of actual events.
It's actually a mix of
toys.
It's actually a mix of both of the things where he has a black eye because of the jet ski and because of Savage. Hulk Hogan drowns because of the jet ski. The new guy comes in and Savage punches him.
I mean, Hogan too.
It's
Hogan
the in between.
You want to talk about Warrior being half the size when he returned at 8? Hogan was freaking a third the size at 9. I mean, it's because of the steroid trial. All
Talking
the stuff
about
going
at
on with
9.
Vince and the steroids. I mean, Vince needed to get his guys off the juice as much as he could, and Hogan was noticeably smaller. Yeah, the bat boat jet ski, 100%. Bat boat jet ski.
100% accurate recreation.
I was
going
to use the Star Tours boat, the Star Tours ship, but I thought the bat boat was a little bit funnier, and it also looked highly inappropriate when Hogan was sitting on it. So, all right, let's because we're over our time, but I mean we're fine. But I want to jump to 10.
Yeah,
real quick, and then we're gonna go home here. Bobby Heenan's entrance on the camel is considered one of the most hilarious moments in WWE history. I thought it was funny. To me that his dismount from the camel is funnier. When he gets off the camel and he's bent over and his underwear is just showing. And stuff. That was funny to me. But it's the way Bobby rides the camel. This is Bobby's genius. You can put anybody backwards on a camel and you'd be like, haha. It's the way Bobby rides the camel that makes it funny. It's him screaming at guys to stop the thing and all this. That makes it funny. And nobody looked as cool as Macho Man coming out being fed grapes. Macho Man's just lounged back being fed grapes, and the way he does the ooh, like oh yeah, ooh, give me some more of them grapes, yeah. Welcome to
Grapes.
WrestleMania. Dig it, do the thing. Yeah,
we love good.
I loved
orange
Macho and all
slices.
that. Heenan had massive aura. Yeah, he did.
Massive
Yeah,
aura.
he did. All right, moving on. WrestleMania 10. All right, we're back at Madison Square Garden, and WrestleMania 10 is, to me, the official first WrestleMania of the new generation. And WrestleMania 10 was highlighted by Yokozuna having to wrestle twice. It's always a good idea to put the 600-pounder in 2 matches.
Oh yeah.
And the first match is Lex
Gas him
Luger.
out.
Lex Luger versus Yoko for the WWE title, which Lex does not win because of Mr. Perfect as the special guest referee. You then have Yoko coming back for the main event against Bret the Hitman Hart. Bret wins the WWE title. Piper is the special guest referee. But what is the true highlight of WrestleMania 10 is not, to me, Bret winning the title. It's a great moment where everyone lifts him up on their shoulders and everyone's cheering Bret. Way to go, Bret. The highlight of 10 is Bret Hart versus Owen Hart in the very first match of the night. And then they continue that story at the end of the night, which leads to the feud between them going forward. That, to me, is the highlight and must-see moment of WrestleMania 10. There's a lot of stuff on 10 that, to me, is still to this is hard to watch. Men on a Mission.
Wow.
I was never a Mabel and Mo fan. I think the Mounties made an appearance here.
Wow.
Something like I don't remember completely. You had Doink and Dink versus
Dink.
Bam Bam and Luna. To say Bam Bam and Luna deserved better is an understatement. But WrestleMania 10 has one other shining light. Now, for me, Bret Owen is the highlight. That is as far as a match goes, that is the professional wrestling match. As a spectacle, Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon in the ladder match is what we talk about the most today. You want to watch a good pro wrestling match, you watch Bret versus Owen. You want to watch a spectacle, a match that without it we may not have the TLC matches with the Dudleys and all that. Shawn showed, and let's be fair, Shawn carried the majority of this matchup. Razor did great, but this was Shawn. As Ric Flair famously said, Shawn wrestled a ladder for 25 minutes. What Shawn Michaels and Razor showed you could do in a ladder match brought us what came after with ladder matches for years to come. Let's go, Benny. Give us your thoughts on WrestleMania 10.
I think it's an excellent WrestleMania because you do have two of the greatest WrestleMania matches, even two of the best matches I've seen in a long, long time between Owen and Bret. That's such a good match, so underrated. Anybody who hasn't seen that does need to see it. It was just fantastic. What a story they told. And then, like you said, a little bit of a gimmick match. You got Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels. You had also, I liked Randy Savage and Crush, the False Count Anywhere match. I did enjoy that too.
It's kind of underrated.
Yeah.
The ending got a little messed up there, but yeah. You were saying something about Crush?
No, he had recently turned heel, I believe.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And Savage really wanted to build. He wanted to have a feud with Shawn Michaels and everything, and kind of go out with some really great matches with some great younger talent. Vince didn't give it to him, and that's what caused Macho to, well, in my opinion, what caused Macho to jump ship. I don't think there was a bunch of controversy behind it. I think it was a simple Vince didn't believe that Macho could do it, could go. Macho knew he had more to offer, but I think they were just so close over the years that when Macho bailed, Vince saw it as a slap in the face, and thus the bad blood between them. Burt Reynolds, a part of WrestleMania 10.
Little Richard.
Little Richard opened the night lip syncing. That was great. With the choir, the big old choir there. And Vince was so animated introducing Little Richard. He was so animated introducing Little Richard. And this was our first time with Vince. Well, not the first time with Vince on commentary for WrestleMania, but it was the first Vince, Jerry the King Lawler WrestleMania team up, which would last for 3 years. You would get Vince and JR, Vince and King for 10, 11, 12. WrestleMania 13, it would be Vince, King, and JR. The three-man booth. But WrestleMania 10 was that it did have a really good feel to it. It definitely had that anniversary feel to it. They had a lot of little video moments where they would talk about past WrestleMania moments. It was a hit and miss WrestleMania for me. Like I said, the Doink Dink thing never took off for me. The Mo and Mabel thing just never worked for me. The Whoop, there it is, knockoff. Luger, Yoko was rough to watch at times, and their SummerSlam match was better, but even that wasn't great. Luger by this time at WrestleMania 10, his push to be the next Hogan was over. Yeah. It was gone and done. But Bret, to me, Bret was definitely a big standout. As yes, we're putting all our eggs in this basket here. And that's what made it shocking that when you watch, Bret lost the opening match. Owen won that match. A lot of people forget that. Owen beat Bret in the opening matchup. Then Bret goes on to win the title. I mean, it just set up their feud perfectly. I thought it was a weak start to the feud with the way that it happened with, Bret knocking off Owen in Survivor Series just accidentally. But it got better. It definitely got a lot better over time. Seth, what do you got for WrestleMania 10?
Bret Hart was a pretty good match, winning the championship. But the one that really sold it was Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon in the ladder match.
Absolutely. 100%. And I think that our opening video does have. I think it might have both. I know it used to have both when I first made it.
Yeah.
The first time I made it, it had both moments. It had a moment from the ladder match and a moment from when Bret won the title. I don't know if it does now. It may just have the Shawn, but yeah, for sure. Absolutely. All right, Chris, what do you remember about 10? What do you think is the selling point for what makes 10 worth checking out?
Just in talk of one of the greatest matches of all time, when you watch highlight reels, you see mentioned the ladder match. So
Yeah.
I've watched it. And it's a spectacular match. So I'm glad that it was mentioned. Going back again, IC title. I think what makes the IC title matches in some of these cases so good is that the WWF title or WWE title is already kind of given to the guy that they've been pushing for a while and that the crowd wants. And it's almost, even in an era where it wasn't the spoiler era, it's almost, you can kind of see who they're going to give the belt to. But the IC title is for people who are hungrier, who are still have something to prove. They're growing. And so I think we've seen a lot better matches in that spot than we have in the WWF title spot. So yeah, just another ladder match. But then we can't talk about 10. And so far, I think, if we correct me if I'm wrong, but our cards show that this would be the first time that we've had the women's championship at WrestleMania.
Yes. Well, no, we did have it at the very first one.
At the very first one.
Yeah,
okay.
at the very first one.
See that on the card.
This was an attempt to reestablish the women's title with Alundra Blaze at the helm. And when Alundra Blaze left for WCW as Medusa and threw the title in the belt, there went all of that. And Vince was like, nope.
Yeah.
Not going to happen. And it wasn't until, let's be honest, the popularity of Sable that almost kind of forced Vince's hand to be like, all right, let's do this. Let's bring the women's championship
in China.
back. Yeah. All right. Let's see. We got Thrawn Kill says, ready to rumble. Got me back into wrestling. Wow, that's a feat right there. I love Ready to Rumble, but it's one of those, it's so bad it's good movies.
Yeah.
And I did like Dallas as the bad guy, but overall the movie's just absolutely ridiculous, but I get a kick out of it. The first WWF show I went to, Triple H tore his quad in San Jose. Hey, you got to watch a moment that is replayed like over and over and over again. They always show.
I remember seeing it live.
Yeah.
I mean, like on TV, not in person.
Right. But yeah, they always do that. Grandmaster says, Thrawn Kill, Star Wars fan, huh? Wouldn't that be funny? He's like, no. Why?
No? What's that?
Yeah, why do you ask?
What's that?
Benny, do you know why that's a funny question?
No. I do not.
Supposedly. So Admiral Thrawn is a character from Star Wars that's grown in popularity over the last, I don't know, 10 years? Something like that. Gotta go. Had fun learning about all these old manias. Y'all have a great day. Y'all have a great day now. Yes, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, no, first 10, we got through it. We're only about 24 minutes over. But
and
that's
I prepared
fine.
for the first 20.
It's giving me an opportunity to get used to doing more, because when we get to WrestleMania, when we do our preview show, we're going to have a special 4-hour show like we used to back in the day, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. again, because covering 2 days of WrestleMania with our group of people and the way I can talk, we need more than 2 hours for sure. So before we go, though, really quick, as quickly as I can, our buddy Doc Haywood, I told him, if you're not on the show, you send me information on PCW and what people can see today on Limelight. And I'm not kidding you. He sent me what could be published as a novel. But ladies and gentlemen, the final shot in the dark qualifier takes place on this episode of PCW Limelight. and the stakes could not be higher. First, the unwanted nasty Brandon Nash steps into the ring against the last OG of PCW, Propane. I love that name. Last week, Nash's partner Christian Sky came up short in his qualifier attempt. Now the pressure is on Nash to succeed where Sky failed. Can Nash keep the unwanted hopes alive, or will the minister of violence drag him straight to the church of pain and suffering? Then, in our featured matchup, wrestling personified Rick Luxury continues his pursuit of history. With only 1 year remaining on his PCW contract, Rick Luxury is chasing one last run at the PCW Championship and a chance to achieve the Dynasty 5 PCW title reigns. Standing in his way is the 6'10", 500-pound kaiju of California, Bad News Blakesley. And if that mountain of a man wasn't enough, the boss, Zach Primetime Reeb, will be in Bad News' corner serving as an insurance policy and making it clear he will do whatever it takes to prevent Rick Luxury from becoming the only other wrestler to achieve the Dynasty. Reeb has vowed Rick Luxury will never reach 5. All of his builds toward the next week's explosive episode featuring the 30-man over-the-top rope last man standing rumble. On commentary, Doc Haywood, Josh Reynolds, and special guest, the RC Nist, premiering Saturday. That's today at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Subscribe to PCW and join them live for the premiere. Saturdays are for pro wrestling, and pro wrestling is in NorCal with PCW. Whew! I got through it. No way. Yes, way. All right, guys. Really quick, let's wrap this up. Don't forget, guys, get on over to Amazon right now and get your copy of my first book, available now, Vengeance. Just look up Positively Pat Sims on Amazon, and you will find it there. You can get it for Kindle, paperback, and hardcover. I recommend paperback or hardcover, not because of money, but because I think that it's always cool to have
Money.
actual physical books on hand. Mine should be arriving in about a month. But if you order yours today, you should get yours within just a couple of days. You'll get them long before I will. So make sure you pick up your copy today. And also go over to positivelypatsims.printful.me and pick up your Positively Pat Sims Show basketball jersey with the number 23 and Sims Nation on the back. Seth, do you know why we're number 23?
Because that's the year.
That's the year the Positively Pat Sims Show was born. All right, and we also have our Positively Pat Sims Show playing cards now available, and my favorite, the Positively Pat Sims Show yoga mat. So if you're doing DDPY, we've got multiple yoga mats for you, including our Positively Pat Sims pirate logo mat. We've got this one, and we've got our Warriors Unleashed yoga mat. All right, guys. So now, Chris, some final words for the Sims Nation. Take it away, my friend.
Yeah, just let's get after it. Own your life. If you're watching the show and not a part of DDPY at the moment, what are you doing? Yeah, I love it. I stand behind it. I love the show. I've had a fun time. I can't wait to do more. But yeah, everybody have a good Saturday.
You want to get the most out of your DDPY? Head on over to ddpyoga.com. Look for fast track coaching and hire me. Isn't that right, Chris?
I agree. I have done that already myself. So as a person, firsthand experience, it's been life-changing.
And Chris gets morning messages from me every weekday. He is
I know it.
He is so blessed. All right, Seth.
Yeah.
Seth, what are your final words for the Sims Nation?
I don't know.
That's a good one.
It
I
is
don't know, Sims
great.
Nation. Benny the Jet Scala. Take it away, my friend.
Yeah.
Tell everybody about.
Yeah, catch me tomorrow at 3:00 on Want Radio, my Benny the Jet show. Monday night, True Crime with the Bad Girl of Play and Dangerous Dave at 6 p.m. Wednesday at 7:30 is my When It Was Real podcast with Nikita Brezhnikov. And on Thursday at 7:05 is the Twisted Turnbuckle podcast with Chris DiCarlo and great recent guest, Positively Pat Sims.
That's right.
So
Best show ever.
All those shows, the True Crime and the When It Was Real, are also simulcast on Want Radio.
And look at that. See, Benny and I, we don't step on each other's toes. I got Tuesday night, Friday night, Saturday morning. Look at that. You got like entire week.
I'll echo Chris's sentiment that DDPY is indeed life-changing. If you haven't tried it, you need to.
Yep. This reminds me every day. Hit the mat. You can change your life. You can own your life the same way that we are. Without it, vengeance does not exist. Without it, the Positively Pat Sims show does not exist. So I am overly, overly thankful. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us here. 2.5 hours. I had a lot of fun. I'll tell you what, the show, again, just like last night's show, the Warriors Unleashed show with Ron Rahov, and Thursday's show on the Twisted Turnbuckle podcast, these have flown by. I thought for sure we were only maybe an hour and a half in, and I look up and it's like, oh, there's a 9 at the beginning of the time. So, guys, I want to thank my special guests. I want to thank Chris Hall. I want to thank Benny the Jet Scala. I want to thank my co-host Seth Sims, our information man over here.
Yeah.
And I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank our listeners on WANT, where if you want it, we got it. And just remember to tune in. You can tune in to WANT 24/7. You can hear Benny as well as some great music, and even my still to this day available comedy album, Off to a Good Start, which is still available on all platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, and of course gets played from time to time on WANT. So stay tuned. We got even more stuff coming your way next week on the Positively Pat Sims Show, Part 2, which apparently will be WrestleManias 11 through 20. So don't miss out as we continue our road to WrestleMania 42, which, if everything pans out right, the week before we'll be playing a major WrestleMania edition of the Squared Circle, and then we are going to have our epic 4-hour WrestleMania preview show. I want to see if we can get our WrestleMania preview show last year did very, very well. I'm hoping this year, my goal is 1,000 viewers total. So let's go. Let's make that happen. Tell your friends, tell your family about the greatest Saturday morning pro wrestling show on the planet. And we always tell you the same thing. What's the best way to have a great weekend? Start it off with the show and then take it easy. And if it's easy, take it twice. So long, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Tuesday game night, Friday Warriors Unleashed, and Saturday morning with the Positively Pat Sims Show.
The lights are dim, but the room still hums with the echoes of laughter and the moments we spun. Every honest word is like a stone in a stream. It rippled, it lingered, it shaped our dream. And if you ever wonder where I'll be, look to the screen, I'll be there, you'll see. Goodbye to the faces that stayed in the glow. Goodbye to the voices I always know. This isn't an And if you ever